What's up everyone? Wanted to make a quick guide on how to play Frontline, Tank, and Melee DPS for Albion Online 5v5 content. So that's Crystal Arenas, Hell Gates, or even Crystal League matches. The reason I'm recording this is because there's a pretty consensus view that 5v5 content is historically very inaccessible to players in Albion Online. And currently, if you're a new or intermediate player queuing into 5v5 content and you run into one of the pre-made super strong Vives teams, you're just going to get run over, especially by the Glaive meta in 2026. Even though it's a front-to-back comp, the front line alone can completely solo a Clothy in the back line, making it super, super powerful. And so this video would just give some tips and tricks on how to play these builds properly and get the most out of it, and almost always just kill.
Early reset.
So you'll actually realize that I'm playing healer in this VOD, and that's because in this clip I actually get molested by Twisted Penguin and Bism here in the front line.
I have to play way back.
So I use my boots pretty early here, and I'm stuck for the next 20 seconds because the mercenary shoe CD is so long. I have to stay downstairs, and you might think I'm pretty safe here. Like, how could I die in the next 5 seconds? Well, this is how. Twisted boots me in, Hellfire's under me, purges, I'm dead. And I guess Bism Stalker Hood also hit me. And if you thought that was a fluke and I was just trolling, which I was, here is a clip of another team doing the same kidnap comp to me. This time the Glaive is using Harpoon, but it's the same concept. The Heavy Mace hovers around me, gets ready to purge me with his Bridgewatch cape, and that is just an insane kidnap distance, and I die through pawn.
Shouldn't glance like that.
I've GG. I reset in 5.
Hello, Guardian.
I'm gonna fling Sabot again.
And here's another clip of me trolling yet again against an entirely different team, using the same kidnap front-to-back comp. The damage is just insane, and basically me being out of position is going to cause me to die 99% of the time.
This guy, yeah, he's definitely going to be on Harpoon. He is.
On a lighter note, here's the combo being pulled off from our POV. You can see here the bow uses cleric robe, and pawn was purged on the bottom right, and res pot was popped as well. Even though he burned through all of his defensives, it's just so easy to kill. Anyways, I'll quickly show the build of the two frontline, then we'll hop into VODs. Starting with the Heavy Mace. The Heavy Mace is mainly focusing on cooldown reduction and CC. So on the armor and boots is very important. We want to make sure we proc the CC passive as opposed to the defense passive. This is coupled with the Avalonian Beef Sandwich, as well as the Bridgewatch Cape, which gives a huge CC boost. And this is just insane because the Assassin Hood brings back all this cooldown skills for the Heavy Mace, as well as the Hellfire Potion for the anti-heal. The next is the Glaive. The Glaive is mainly going to be using the Stalker Hood, as well as the Impaler W. The entire point of the Glaive build is auto attack and single target damage. So we want these abilities. The Stalker Hood is one of the best AoE pierces in the game and lasts for 4 seconds, which is insane. We're wearing the Royal Armor, which is a plate armor and gives mana to the team. You're the main mana sustain, and we're also wearing Stalker shoes for the blink. The distance is very far, so you can blink and then fling the enemy back to kidnap them. The Thetford Cape adds a shit ton of damage, as well as the Eels 2-4 damage and cooldown reduction with the resistance pause, because you will be focused and targeted by the enemy RDPS quite often. And this is a bit more of a hot take, but Tenacity Shoes is getting more play recently, and although it lacks a lot of mobility, it adds a lot of damage and some additional tech we'll see later on. And finally, for Polehammer, this is the only alternative to the Heavy Mace tank at the moment. We're running mostly Purge with CC passive yet again. We're wearing the Fiend Cowl and Fiend Sandals so we can proc the mana passive as well as the mana passive on the Polehammer itself, because we will run into more mana issues than the Heavy Mace. We want the CC passive on the armor yet again with the same food and pots for anti-heal. This time we can bring the Smuggler's Cape so we get an extra Hellfire Potion. That is because we don't get a lot of value off of the Bridge Watch. You can also swap the Fiend Cowl for Helmet of Valor for a AoE Purge, and we can use the CC passive since it's a plate helmet. But it's mostly up to whether you can hit those skills. Alright, starting off with the first Heavy Mace tech, this is the Bridge Watch Cape. When you use your E to purge and silence the enemy, your Bridge Watch Cape procs this tornado. It increases your CC effects by a multitude. So you can see here that all of my Duskweaver boots are bringing the enemy very, very far and CCing them for a very, very long time, combined with all of the CC food and passives we're using. The Bridge Watch Cape also has a very fast cooldown of, I believe, 60 seconds or something. So this tornado thing comes up very often. And when you walk next to someone, it also slows them. So essentially, you can save your snare charge in many instances, and you don't even need to use that. You can just use the Bridge Watch Cape, walk them down a bit so you get behind them, and you can just Duskweaver boots them back. Like in this scenario. Drop a Hellfire Pot under the stun clump, and they stay CC'd for 5 seconds almost.
Group up in 3 and 2 and 1. Group up, group up.
Healer no boots. I'm kidnapping healer.
Oh my god.
I'm on you, Mu, you're fine. I'm on you, Mu, you're fine.
It goes bad.
Pull them back in. Got him.
The way to kind of negate this is to use a res pot or some CC resistance passive. See here how the Duskweaver boots barely moved me at all in this scenario. The second tech that is core to the Heavy Mace is its E, which is the strongest purge and silence in the game. The way to use this is against healers when they use Holy Beam. Redemption Staff is currently very strong in the meta, so all you have to do is stand on top of the healer, and when they're beaming, use the purge. Even if they have the fourth passive, which makes the W uninterruptible, you can still purge the beam because you purge the passive. And since you're running the Assassin Hood, your purge comes up so often that basically every time the healer has a beam, you can use it on that. You can also use it for something else during the first rotation, like purging Royal Armor, purging defensives on a Clothy that's about to die, purging Pawn on the Nature, purging Nature stacks. There's so many. The third most important part of being the tank is to control the macro of the game, which means keeping an eye on the cap when the opponents are looking to cap. There are several ways to interrupt in the Heavy Mace's arsenal. I just saw throw in a pot. You could also just go up and throw a snare charge or a Q. You also want to CC the enemy team when your own team is copying, so you can hold them off and ensure you guys get the point before the timer at the top expires. So see in this scenario, throw a purge on the bow, he's no longer able to get close. He misses the Q barely and ends up dying for the cap.
Easy pull. They're going now. He's going
You're
down.
gonna go touchdown.
Just wanted to flex a bit on this clip because I Duskweaver boots while the Glaive was flinging me, thus making me immune to the fling.
Nice.
Nice job, Ishii.
Alright, now it's time for the Glaive tech. The first one is using the Stalker Hood correctly. When the enemy gets below 50% HP, your Stalker Hood pierces them, making them very vulnerable to any future damage. Look how fast they take damage here, especially Clothies. One thing you can do to make sure you always hit the Stalker Hood is to use it while you're flinging them. They will always get pierced as they go above you. The thing that most people get confused by as they're playing Glaive is, how do I start a fight? Who do I go on? Unfortunately, it's very, very simple and monkey brain. You just pick the weakest cloth on the enemy team and you just sit on them. So you'll see in this engage, the enemy Glaive is just sitting on our bow. Same with the tank. You just start the fight off by purging whatever defensives and abilities the weakest Clothy has, and you just monkey sit him. You end up creating enough pressure on the RDPS that you essentially deny almost all of the damage that the RDPS does. In that way, it's not a waste at all to just monkey sit on the enemy's highest dealing RDPS. Literally see here, both teams are just sitting on the other's bow, and that ends up creating a lot of separation. Don't panic in these situations. Don't play too defensively. It's important to just mirror and also stay on the offensive. Whoever ends up killing first ends up winning the fight. The third Glaive tech is the optional Tenacity Boots. The first one we'll go over is canceling enemy abilities. So see, in this case, I got a fire artillery on me. I went invisible and that canceled it out. I Stalker Hooded the healer and look how fast he dies. In this one, I'm getting a dagger pair on me, but if I go invisible, there's no one for the dagger pair to click to do his E, which in this case, he ends up just does nothing. Here's another one. I get very low after securing kill. A fire artillery comes on me and I go invisible, canceling it out. One additional note is that in addition to the tank interrupting caps, the Glaive should also help out. The enemy tank will look to stun our tank so that I'm not able to get close, or I use all of my abilities already. In that case, see, in this scenario, the Glaive needs to step up, uses Impaler as the third rotation to cancel the enemy cap. Here, the enemy Glaive can actually prevent me from going to cancel their rock collar capping mid by flinging me back, and now we're too slow to be able to interrupt the cap. Here he tries the same thing, but kind of messes up and misses the interrupt. All right, finally we're getting to the Polehammer, which is the most Chad alternative tank option available if you know how to press your buttons. In this case, we're starting off with showcasing the Polehammer's range. I go and interrupt the cap. You can do it from very far away. You can also stun multiple enemies at once, which is much better than the Great Hammer was, because when you played Great Hammer, you would often have to use your Fiend Sandals or Boots in order to close the distance, whereas for Polehammer, you don't need to. So a great way to start a fight is to pick 2 targets, stun them, and throw a Hellfire pot. Since we're running Smuggler's Cape, we can use our Hellfire potions more generously, and this puts our team at a great tempo to start almost every fight. If you see the front line clumping in 2, just stun them and throw a Hellfire pot.
I used everything on Neji just now. Oh, you guys, nice.
And now we're getting to the very difficult tech, which is using your Fiend Sandals properly on the Polehammer. In most cases, we want to use it defensively. For instance, you can cancel the enemy Heavy Mace snare charge.
Good swap.
You can also swap your teammate out if they're getting dust booted in.
Oh, good swap.
You can also swap your teammate if they're getting Glaive flung. Furthermore, if you yourself are getting pressured, you can swap yourself with the enemy to further the distance between you two.
Yeah, sorry. There's people like everyone.
In addition to the Fiend Sandals, you have another displacement ability in your Geyser W. It is one of the most versatile skills in all of Albion. If your Geyser hits your teammate, instead of knocking them up, it actually knocks them away. So if you off-center it, you can actually help them get out of a sticky situation.
I don't have boots.
You're fine, you're fine.
Healer's really bad in the back. No, he's got nothing now.
Oh, you might not be fine. You might not be fine.
Yeah, problem the healer.
I'm fine, I'm fine.
I'm up first, bro.
And that's most of the tech for playing Frontline very well in 5s. Here are a few more clips from a different POV, so I'm healing, but you can still pay attention to what the Glaive and Heavy Mace / Polehammer do. And I'll also include the comms.
Hey, can you flank? How long?
I can think.
Oh.
Just no.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, I got rotation.
Play back a bit.
Everyone else went to back.
Robust Frazzle.
I can go in.
Look, Draft is here.
Yeah.
He's Frazzle.
Okay. I think. He's flinked. Stalker.
I purged.
Yeah, this. Oh, I got both.
Percent 2. Percent 1.
Any help?
You're.
Fun on Dravis, he's no cleanse.
Okay.
Front.
I'm gonna go now on Drafus.
Question?
I'm on Drafus. He's 1 HP. Literally. I kill.
Robust bad.
Yeah.
Robust Frazzle.
Kill someone. I'm thinking Drafus in.
You're twisting no boots. Look. He's done.
Okay.
He's Frazzle.
Stalker. He dies. Please.
Nice.
Nice.
We look Dravis now.
And that's all. Thanks for making it this far in the video. It took a lot of time to find all the VODs and piece the clips together. I do intend to make a healer guide on how to survive the Glaive rotation, and also our DPS guides on how to just output the maximum amount of damage. If there's enough interest for those, I'll go ahead and work on them, but as of now, I'm a bit too lazy. So yeah,